due to their complications.
All right. A number of Capitol Hill lawmakers are sponsoring legislation to repeal the 10% federal tax on tanning services, which was enacted as part of President Obama's health reform law. If Snooki were in Congress, she'd probably vote for the bill. Last year, the co-star of TV's Jersey Shore tweeted that U.S. Senator John McCain would never put a 10% tax on tanning because he's pale and would probably want to be tan. The Republican from Arizona responded with his own tweet, Snooki, you're right. I would never tax your tanning bed. President Obama's tax spend policy is quite the situation, but I do recommend wearing sunscreen. So the question is, should the tan tax be repealed? Rob Quinn is founder and president of Tan Pro, Ohio's largest chain of tanning salons. David Lazarus is business columnist with the Los Angeles Times. Great to have you both with us. Rob, I'm going to start off with you. Taxing a tanning bed, isn't that the same as taxing cigarettes, taxing alcohol? Basically, you're taxing unhealthy behavior.
Well, I think we might disagree that it's unhealthy behavior. I think, our opposition has done a good job of trying to put us in the same group as cigarettes or tobacco or alcohol, but I think that the overwhelming mountain of evidence on the science side would suggest that, getting a little bit of sun exposure isn't bad for you. But I do agree that it's an anti-American tax policy.
Guys, I'm sorry I have to interrupt. We've got some breaking news. I want to go straight to Hampton Pearson. Hampton.
Hi. Back to you guys.
Hampton Pearson, thanks so much from the Supreme Court. David Lazarus, I want to continue our conversation about whether this 10% excise tax on tanning salons should be repealed at this point. What stood out when Rob was talking was that tanning is not an unhealthy activity.
Well, I mean, I guess you could say a little sun won't hurt you, but the reality is melanoma, the most virulent form of skin cancer, causes about 9,000 deaths a year, and studies show that indoor tanners, people who go to tanning salons, tend to have higher incidence of melanoma. In fact, people under 30 who go to tanning salons tend to have a 75% greater chance of getting melanoma. So it's not like saying, oh, it's just a little bit of sun, it won't hurt you. In fact, this is a harmful activity that has very dire consequences. Now, I'm not saying that this is necessarily the thing that we want to be targeting, especially in the middle of an obesity epidemic. If I was the Obama administration, I'd have gone after junk food makers. But the fact of the matter is, this tax is on the table. It will account for about $3 billion in revenue over 10 years, and that's important.
Rob, do you want to respond specifically to whether it is dangerous?
Well, sure. I think that for every one of those studies that suggest that there's a link between melanoma specifically and indoor tanning, there are very few studies, and on the flip side, there are dozens that would suggest the opposite occurs. In fact, recently there was a study out of Sweden, I think it was 50,000 women, that suggested that indoor tanning specifically created some protective measures against melanoma in people. I think that we have to look at it globally too. This isn't just about melanoma. It's about all the other protective factors from vitamin D. And one thing that happens in indoor tanning is that you get a very sizable dose of UV light, as opposed to outdoors where people get most of their harmful radiation.
Can I say, for one thing, how disappointed I am as one of the largest sunbed owners that you are not. I'd hoped you would come in really tanned, but you haven't. And secondly, why did you get this tax in the first place? Is this because basically you guys were not properly organized on Capitol Hill? You didn't have a strong lobby, and now you're having to wake up to how you counter the reality of how things work over there?
Well, it's funny. There's a quote that a longtime congressman made, Russell Long said. He said, don't tax you, don't tax me, tax the fellow behind the tree. And that's exactly what happened to us. These discussions were backroom discussions late in '09 during the finalization of the health care bill. And the AMA was looking for a reason to get out from underneath opposing that bill. And one of the things that they had a problem with was the the bow tax. And so they came to the table and they said, look, take the bow tax off and throw it at these guys. They're not here, so...
Well, you should have been there, mates. You should have been there.
I agree.
You are now.
Thanks, guys.
Clearly.
Rob and David.